Hello, Austin Young Democrats. Council member Jimmy Flannigan here. Thanks for doing your forum via video so we could all participate and not get into conflict with council meetings. I really miss spending time with the Young Democrats. It was one of the clubs I really enjoyed attending over the last 4 to 6 years. But in the last 4 years, of course, I have been your council member representing District 6 on the Austin City Council. And in that time, I have led an unparalleled engagement campaign across District 6, more than 60 different town halls, events, community forums, taking the issues of the city right to the voters and to the residents of far northwest Austin that I represent. And I've turned that unparalleled engagement into solutions across the entire district, solutions on transportation, small and large, fighting against wasteful spending in government, and of course, proving that progressive values know no corner of the city, and addressing affordability, safety, health, and our long-term fiscal impacts with related to housing and the Land Development Code. I'm really proud to have had your support in the past in both my 14 and 16 race, and I'm hoping I can count on your support as we hopefully win this thing in November. Your next question is related to climate change. No council has done more to address the problem of climate change than the one that I am honored to sit with, working to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, shutting down the Fayette coal plant, working to reduce that reliance, increasing our investment in solar energy and wind energy, but also looking at our water resources, adopting the Water Forward Plan, and I'm looking forward to moving that to the next step, changing the code, increasing the enforcement, expanding the access to reclaimed water resources across the city. You know, in District 6, we still have neighborhoods who built reclaimed water systems in the ground to serve their neighborhoods, but aren't connected up to the system yet because the extension of those pipes exceeded our capacity to deliver the water. So we have to make sure that we're solving for all parts of our system. The same applies to recycling and composting, and seeing those resources go out and making sure that we're following up on the back end, that our recycled materials and our composting materials are being handled appropriately. And of course, supported all of the climate change planning and action steps that we've taken. And I'm particularly interested in addressing environmental equity to ensure that we are not just doubling down on the poor decisions of the past that pushed the dirtiest and most environmentally dangerous issues and developments into communities, historically communities of color. We have a lot of work to do in Austin to undo our history of racial inequality. Your third question on the cost of living. I have been a loud and vocal and passionate champion for believing in the basics of economics, supply and demand. The rising cost of housing is unsustainable in this community. It's unsustainable for those who live here now. It's unsustainable for our essential workers. It's unsustainable for the next generation. We must rewrite our broken land development code and make it simpler and more straightforward where housing is to be built in our community, especially doing so in a way that allows us to get affordable housing, income restricted, at different levels of income, so that everyone who serves this community can afford to live in this community. And I think we've really learned something in this pandemic about who our essential workers are and how those folks aren't making the top of the wage scale. They're not making the median family income, but they're essential to this community. And so we need to ensure that we're pulling every lever we can to build the housing we need in this community for everyone to live here. The next question is climate justice. Well, I addressed that a little bit in my climate change question because I think they're very much related. It doesn't address climate change just to push those solutions into historically disadvantaged communities or communities of color. But we have to ensure that this work expands into both our housing and our transportation policy. I'm really proud of the work that I've done on Project Connect to ensure that it serves a diverse and equitable audience. It definitely serves District 6 as well. The red line improvements go first in the improvement plan, also expanding our commuter service with a new park and ride in the 4 Points area and expanding the commuter service we have with the changes and the fixes that we have coming to 183 that I have also championed. And on our housing policy, we can't repeat the mistakes that were made just east of I-35, where we pushed the most dense housing and the most dramatic change into these historic communities. We have to equalize how we build housing in this community across the entire city. And I don't think anyone's been a louder champion of that than I have on the council. And your last question, pursuit of justice in a leadership vacuum from the state and federal level. Well, I often say if we had an even minimally functional state and federal government, we would be able to do so much more at the local level. The fact of the matter is, city government is not structured to handle the scale of crisis that we are facing with this pandemic. I am very proud of the work that we've done, from Mayor Adler canceling South by early, which I believe was a decision heard round the world about Americans taking the virus seriously, to my authoring the very first resolution in response to that, trying to address the economic concerns, especially on those industries most affected by the pandemic, our live music venues, bars and restaurants, and childcare providers. Then leading into authoring a small business support program and working with my colleagues on the council to include childcare and nonprofit support. And we've been able to get tens of millions of dollars out into the community much faster than many other jurisdictions. And we're set up well if and when state and federal government steps up to release the rest of the stimulus money. As you all know, Governor Abbott is sitting on billions of federal stimulus, CARES Act money, and most of the support we've been able to do has been relying upon those funds. Again, we need state and federal government to step up because city government by design is not built to handle this level of economic shock, but we are built to handle the systems to distribute that assistance. And that is the work that I have led on and that I'm incredibly proud of. I have done so much work for this community, and so have you, Austin Young Democrats. I'm so proud to have earned your endorsement in prior campaigns, and I hope that I have done you proud as the council member for District 6, and that I have earned your endorsement and support in the election this November.